texting back and forth. What were your thoughts? You may have just kind of gone over it with the group, but I got to hear. I mean, when you first got the news or saw it on Twitter, my reaction was like, "Gosh, really?" And then obviously the question of the contract, but that's nuts. 1 year, $8 million. I mean, what are we doing?
I thought for sure I was going to see 3 years, $15 million a year from Detroit. And I was going to be like, okay, that makes perfect sense. Obviously, you do you, go get your money. But the $8 million is surprising. But I uploaded a show right before this, and then we went ahead and jumped on for our live thing. I think Philly offered him probably like $9 to $10 million for a 3-year deal, because I think John Clark had that come up just a couple of minutes ago on Twitter that they did offer a multi-year deal. CJ said, that's so cheap. And he got mad. You saw all those tweets. He was tweeting about disrespect, and he deleted his pictures on Instagram of him in an Eagles jersey, changed his Twitter avatar. Then he went out to the real world and saw no one else was going to give him more than that. And then he kind of came to the idea of, well, let's sign a 1-year prove a deal, but not with the Eagles because they tried to screw me earlier on.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's exactly what happened. It's interesting too, because we had and you mentioned like the disrespect is real, but then he went back and unarchived, and no one can know what CJ Gardner Johnson's thinking. That's clear. That's obvious. But he goes and unarchives last night or 2 days ago, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great news, right? Like he tweets out his agent's handle on Twitter, and I'm thinking that this is going to be a deal signed. It's only a matter of days. I thought tomorrow. I'm winding down for the day, thinking, okay, surely nothing's going to break. And then, the same thing. I had the same reaction. It's like, okay, what's the deal going to be? But the fact that it's 1 year, $8 million, I mean, I'm with you. The reports are obviously that it was the Eagles made a deal early on, maybe lowballed him once they realized that he wasn't thinking that was going to be an option. Okay, you know what? We'll take care of Bradbury, take care of Slay. We're moving on. You can kind of jump on the train with us if you want to, or no big deal if you don't want to join us. But now that it didn't happen, he's just kind of sitting there waiting like, all right, I'm going to bet on myself, which I thought the longer this played out was a good thing for us to be able to get CJ. And now obviously we find out it wasn't, because he was just trying to figure out a deal. Okay, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to do a 1-year deal. So it's a little bit, I don't know, I'll say a little bit. For me, it's a lot. I don't like this. I mean, I love CJ. I understand, and I can see the point of why you wouldn't want to take the risk. And I've seen people of, various people on Twitter, saying, he was obviously a risk because they weren't willing to offer him more money. And this is what teams in the safety market in general was like. But I thought for sure, for $8 million, we signed Fletcher Cox for 10. Like, you can't match it, or you're not willing. I don't know. I would want to see what the official reports or more news as it breaks of actually what happened in the storyline here. But to me, it does seem like a little bit of a missed opportunity. That's just, I don't know. We'll see.
An ESPN analyst for 97.7 ESPN in Louisiana tweeted this. He quote tweeting Jeff McClain's tweet saying 45 minutes ago, the Eagles did offer a multi-year deal. The Saints reporter says, quote, the Saints also offered him much more than deal last offseason. He viewed it as disrespectful. So it seems like he wants to get his money. He gets offered something that's not the money that he thinks that he wants. He gets mad at the football team and one then wants out of there. So apparently that happened with the Saints last year, comes to Philadelphia, now Philadelphia, and he moves on. Okay, we're going to get to super chats and chats here in just 1 second. I do want to mention that, if I can throw it up on the stream, this is still going on right here. Make sure that we all understand that if you drop a super chat, each dollar that you go ahead and gives you one entry into our first round draft pick jersey giveaway. That'll be night 1 of the NFL draft. And so just know that that's normally a Wednesday live link sort of thing. But Donatella Dragon has this one. Nobody's over the logo. Glad this deal is done. So Josh will mark down Donatella Dragon for 2 entries into the jersey giveaway. Each super chat you give, again, is a jersey giveaway. Got to be subscribed myself and Josh as well. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who's at fault here, and that's what we're all trying to do. It sounds like CJ Gardner Johnson is. And now we say at fault, but hey, listen, if he felt like he was disrespected, then he wants to move on. He's more than capable of doing that. It just feels like he loses here. He loses money. And
he clear to me, he does. Yeah. You're not going to sign a long-term deal, but you know what? Hey, we understand this. We've mentioned it on several shows together on the Wednesday Link and on our own individual shows. I mean, CJ is a very emotional player, and that's what makes him so good at times, but it's also what makes him risky and what the whole market and the reason they see that. But he's tweeting, he leads the league in the stat of deleted tweets. That's the given. So there's risk, but Howie knew that before, whenever we got him, from the Saints, or the deal that we traded for him to get there. So it's not a question on that side, but it feels like there's a little bit of a loss, but I think that at the same time too, he was slighted, and as emotional as he can get, I think he was like, you know what, fine. I'm going to move elsewhere. I'm going to go where maybe I'm viewed a little bit more highly, or I get a little bit more value. So, and it always hurts. It's like you're sitting there watching other guys get deals done. You see James Bradbury. Now, granted, Bradbury took a team friendly deal, but in CJ's eyes, he probably still thought, wait, you're going to pay him that much and you're not going to pay me? You're not going to offer that type of deal? So while I would agree with Howie making the better move, and Bradbury is the better option in that sense, to CJ, he probably doesn't recognize it. It's just like, no, you're paying him, you're locking up Slay, and you're just offering me like chump change in the end. So I don't know. It's crazy how this is all played out.
Couple of comments here. Brad says no audio on the other vid. Okay, the audio does work on my show breaking this down. Just refresh your browser because I uploaded so quickly that YouTube was a little bit behind. I checked it on like 7 different computers. It's working on everyone I've texted, including Josh.
It works for me. So
just refresh the audio on my actual show.
You were quick on that, by the way. Kudos to you. That was what, like 5 minutes it seemed like after breaking news?
Climbing into bed. I was climbing into bed. I was like, I'm going to bed early tonight. Nope, not happening. Philly 416 is blessing in disguise, lack of maturity. Yeah. I mean, maybe. I think from the outside looking in, it looks like that. I think that we can't really comment on that at this point just because we're not in the locker room and people seem to like CJ Gardner Johnson. But the 1-year deal to me is interesting because you see this happen in the National Football League a lot where people bet on themselves. Lamar Jackson, for instance, very famously, Lamar Jackson still has not gotten paid. It does seem like betting on yourself doesn't necessarily work in the end. And my question for CJ, when he would tell me, if he was sitting here, would say, hey, I'm betting on myself next year. Great. Like, do you. We all bet on ourselves in some way in whatever job and industry you're in. But do you think the safety market's going to be dramatically different next year? Like, the safety market wasn't great this year. And so is it going to jump $5 million next season? Like what he wants?
I wouldn't think so. No,
I have no idea.
I don't see why it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. And I've seen on the comments here in the section several people kind of bashing CJ, or I've seen where was that? I'm losing track, but there's a comment of he's a cancer. I think Johnny Lake, he's a cancer to the locker room. I'm okay with this. He's a weirdo. There's also RW Swope. Why is everyone bashing CJ? Like, I get it. Yes, he's emotional, like we talked about, and you can argue he's a little bit childish, or maybe a lot childish, but. Sure. It's not like when he was here previously or rewind a week ago. I mean, was everyone saying this? I didn't see it in the live chats. I didn't see it in any of the comment section. So I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a drastic knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, fine, he's gone. He's childish. We didn't need him anyway. I think there's a silver lining in it. Yes, Howie's made some great deals, and I think we're going to be fine. But I think it's a little drastic just go in there and say, oh, we never wanted him in the first place, because I never saw that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reactionary thing. If this was a live stream talking about how they just signed him back to Philadelphia, we'd all be singing his praises. So I mean, it's a reaction thing. It's not coming from nowhere because there is some maturity question marks, especially with all the tweets we saw this year. But we weren't in the negotiating room. What if Philly offered him a 3-year, $6 million a year deal? I'd feel disrespected if that was me.
Yeah,
we just don't know. I think it's probably 10, but who really knows? Okay, another entry. 5 more entries here. Oop, Josh is gone. There he is. 5 more entries into our first round draft pick giveaway here for No GQ Pena. Hey, Thomas, missed you over at the other place. Can't wait for the season to start. I can't either. It's going to be a long off season, but you do get 5 entries if you don't know right here.
Got you
First round draft pick jersey. Again, every live show we do, every super chat gets an entry in for the jersey giveaway. Night 1 of the NFL draft. We will be live for that. We live Wednesday again as well. Let's catch up on some comments here. Kevin Byard is from Philly. Son took a discount to come home. Could Byard do the same? Okay, here's where I'm at on the Kevin Byard situation. Obviously, I would take him. Josh would take him too. I mean, I can speak for Josh there. We'd all take him. Yeah. Apparently, he wants $15 million a year. So that's a situation where they can't pay him $50 million a year. They would have paid CJ Gardner Johnson $15 million a year. So Kevin Byard would have to go to the Titans and say, hey, trade me or cut me. But in case they wanted to trade me to Philly, right? So he has to narrow down where he wants to go, which most teams won't really grant that whenever you demand it. And then he has to somehow take less to play for Philadelphia. I think Jalen Mills, Brandon Peck says here, do we go after Jalen Mills? I'll ask you that question, Josh. Do we go after Jalen Mills? I think that you do. You don't think so?
I don't think so. Okay. I did a show on this yesterday, so we may disagree on this, but I love Jalen to death. I mean, the Green Goblin, the memories of 2017, he was fantastic. I mean, he had some mistakes in there, and obviously his speed was a factor. He's a slower player, but that's kind of why you move him to safety. I was surprised when the Patriots got him and moved him back to corner. That did make sense. But anyway, he was good. I think he was serviceable, but I think that the lesson that Howie's mentioned multiple times that he's learned from the 2017 season was we got old, we got slow very quickly. He brought back a lot of the same guys and maybe even overpaid for it a little bit. So as much as I like Jalen, and I'm not saying that he's over the hill because he's 28 years old, so it's not like he's declining super fast, but I think that you have a special culture, and not saying that Jalen would ruin that, but it's almost like hey, you were here previously, we're going to bring you back in. I think there's some liabilities in the way that he plays, and I think there's just other better options that you could go with. I know that John Johnson from Cleveland, he's gotten some really good grades. Pro Football Focus actually said he covered better than CJ Gardner Johnson, so that's a name. It wouldn't even count against the comp pick formula because he was released, so that's just one name you could throw out there. But between that and the draft, I don't know. To me, I feel like you could get a better upgrade, and it's a completely new scheme. I don't even know if Desai would say, yeah, you know what, Jalen Mills fits. So I think there's a lot of other names. There's better options in my mind. Nothing against Jalen, like I say, but I feel like there's other players.
Interesting part of the Jeff McClain tweet I'm seeing here. He had a bunch of bullet points. Eagles made multi-year offer. CJ wanted more. They signed Bradbury, extended Slay. His agent overvalued, not realizing market / league viewed him as a risk. That's an interesting line. That's a line that needs a question. That's a line that needs a whole nother tweet. A risk in maturity, a risk is in locker room, a risk as in injury because he plays recklessly. I don't know, but that's an interesting part of the Jeff McClain tweet, which is obviously one of the more inside people in Philadelphia. Quickly, back to Mills. You just mentioned him. I think they're going to bring in another body. There's going to be another body that's brought into the safety spot. And I've looked at, I did this on a show a couple of days ago. I did it on my show like 35 minutes ago, looking at the free agent safety options. There isn't a lot, but whether it's Jonathan Abram or Adrian Amos or Jalen Mills, I could see a body coming back in there. Now, they did sign Anthony Harris, the practice squad, middle of the season last year and didn't do anything with him. And he did start for Philadelphia 2 seasons ago. And so they have some names back there. Do you go safety at 10? Do you take Brian Branch at 10? And we're going to see that comment on both of our shows a lot the next couple of days. Is that what you do? I don't know about that.
I don't think so.
I don't know about that.
Knowing Howie, I mean, that's even a further question you could ask. Do we go safety at 10, but does Howie go safety?
No.
I don't think there's any chance that he does. He's going probably with the trenches as he mostly does. I would love it if he goes corner. But given this news and situation, maybe he trades back, try to stockpile, get a couple extra picks. It'll be interesting to see. I just saw a tweet from Derek Gunn. He says sources say a week ago the Eagles offered CJGJ a 3-year deal, 2 of those guaranteed for more money total than the 1-year deal he signed with Detroit. And he says more to this story will eventually come out. So I'm sure we'll start seeing more info on that, the exact numbers and specifics. But I mean, he had a okay deal. I mean, it's more than Detroit, which it's not surprising. You'd probably get more guaranteed, obviously, on a multi-year deal. But yeah, he felt disrespected. He was clear about that in his deleted tweets and tried to go somewhere else. It's not at first I was like, what in the world? Why Detroit? It's not a huge shock when you think about who he's rejoining, right? I mean, he was with Dan Campbell at New Orleans, and then the defensive coordinator, gosh, that's escaping. Who's Detroit's defense coordinator? He was at the Saints. They were both there.
Blanking, but yes, both of them were.
So yeah, I mean, so it's relationship based. I mean, as a lot of these deals get done, so it's not like he's going just to new territory and doesn't even know anything. But yeah, maybe Dan Campbell sold him on the idea. Hey, you could come here, play for a year, get your stock back up, and maybe sign something long term. I don't know what it is, but he obviously felt like that was the better fit. So it's crazy.
2 more entries into our jersey giveaway night 1 of the NFL draft. Donatella Dragon gets 2 more. How does this affect our draft choices? Jonathan Abram with the exclamation point. So obviously, again, every time that we bring this up, I do want to mention that you have a chance to win whoever the first round draft pick jersey is. The first round draft pick we're going to give away live during our live draft show. So super chat, every dollar is an entry. Throw that up whenever we do get super chats. We have another one coming here in just 1 second. Abram has never worked out anywhere. He was supposed to be a first-round draft pick of the Raiders. Can't cover, right? He's a hard hitter, but he can't cover. A lot of penalties, and then he couldn't work out with the Seahawks. And so, again, you want to bring in a body? I'm fine with bringing in a body. Bring in a body. But do you think he can actually play? That's a different question. We'll get the draft question here in a second, though. Let's get up another one. 007 has 2 more entries here. Maddox could move. He already knows the defense. He could, but is he big enough to play safety? That's my problem with the Devontae Maddox to play safety situation. I don't think he's big enough. I think you need somebody a little bit bigger.
Do
And
you look
Josh,
at Greedy Williams? I mean, that's another one. At first, whenever they signed
a
it, so
lot more likely.
you're just getting talent or an extra body as far as just kind of the cornerback position. But I mean, do you look at Greedy playing back there? The limited, I mean, because he's been injured, so he's injury prone. We know that. But the limited play that he's had some pretty good graded games. He's made some mistakes, but you're going to see that from all players, and especially someone of his level. But he was a second round pick, so I mean, scouts saw a lot in him. So I think if he could stay healthy, he's a bigger physical player. It could work out. I don't know. I mean, that's somewhere you could also look. I think that would be at least more likely than Avonte Maddox. I'm with you. Size, you really want that in a safety.
I totally agree. I think size is definitely something. I think Brian Branch is going to get a lot of pull in some new mock drafts this week. I think you're going to see that in the mock drafts. But as we mentioned, Bijan Robinson at 10 is not something Philadelphia and Howie Roseman does. And safety. When's the last? Have they ever taken a safety in the first round in my 26 years of life?
I
I
can't
don't think
say
so.
anything off the top of my head.
I don't
No,
think
I'd have to
so.
look that up, but I highly doubt it.
Let's be honest about Detroit for 2 seconds. We're obviously, you have an Eagle logo behind you. I have one behind me. But as Joe Doe just said, CJ Gardner Johnson brought me here. Detroit versus everybody LFG. Detroit's had a good offseason. They got Will Harris, the defensive back, David Montgomery, the running back, Cameron Sutton, Matt Nelson, the tackle. They've got John Kaminsky, the Atlanta pass rusher, Manuel Mosley on a 1-year deal. Detroit understands that they can score on anybody. They have a great offensive coordinator. Jared Goff is better than most people realize. He's a top 5 NFC quarterback right now because there aren't that many good ones. They need to stop people. I mean, you saw it week 1 against Philly. They couldn't stop us. So if they can get a little bit better, they are decently dangerous, and their division's weak. I mean, there's no more Aaron Rodgers. You got to beat Jordan Love, Kirk Cousins, or Justin Fields. So I mean, you talk about hosting a team in the postseason. This is a very real possibility. And so it's a good move for them. 100%. It's a good move for them. I just think in terms of defense in the draft, Philly goes defensive line. Just straight up 10 defensive line. Maybe 30 is where you would go safety. Maybe. But he would have to love Branch, or I'm blanking on the A&M guy. You'd have to love them. You'd have to absolutely love them. I just don't see that happening at all.
Yeah. I do too. I don't see it happening either.
Antonio Johnson.
Oh yeah, Antonio Johnson. Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but it looks like Victor Williams. I don't know where he's getting this, but according to sources, looks like the Eagles offered a deal $12 million a year, a multi-year $12 million a year to CJ at the beginning of free agency. He declined,
and he
so now he's taking
down?
Yeah, for 12 million a year, and instead you're going to go 1 year $8 million. I mean, more power to you if you think you could do that, but the NFL. Like we know, everyone knows who watches it. A career can end like that, and I don't wish anything like that on anybody. But just the risk alone, I mean, you can sign a guaranteed deal worth more money, $12 million a year, and CJ turned it down. That
wow.
What was his Spot Track had what 12? Was it 12 and a half? Was his projected value? Wasn't that the yearly? I think it was like 12 and a half a year, or 13. Yeah, something like that. So that if that's true, I don't know. It just says, I guess, according to sources. So we'll see as the news continues to come out. But if it was 12 million a year, multi-year deal, and he didn't sign it, then the Eagles, obviously, Howie tried to make this thing work. And then at that point, obviously, he about faced and said, okay, we're going to get Bradbury and Slay because we got to move on.
That should have been the indicator. When they got Bradbury and Slay, we should have said CJ's gone. Now, we all said Howie does Howie things, and I'm sure that he was trying to, but I think that was probably what we all should have seen as the flashing red flag saying, hey, they're not getting him. That's why they're going back. Because would they have gotten Slay if they'd signed CJ Gardner Johnson? Probably not, right? So
yeah, more than likely no.
The Eagles didn't just trade for Kevin Byard, right? Anthony Green is joking around, right? In the comment section. Just to make sure.
I didn't see anything immediately on Twitter.
You guys can't do that to us while we are live here. You can't do that. I saw that AJ Brown said, great teammate. Glad he took care of his family. Most importantly, it's a dangerous game that we play. Can't be upset with the man for doing what he feels like is best for him and his family. Detroit got a great one. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Anthony, for giving us a heart attack. I missed a super chat here. Donatello Dragon wants 2 more entries into our jersey giveaway. We got you going on right here. CJ's acting like Dennis Schroeder, fumbled pag. Goodness gracious, there's a name, Dennis Schroeder. Living in Atlanta, I'm very familiar with the Dennis Schroeder name. 2 more entries, though, into our night 1 jersey giveaway. Make sure you guys are subbed to Josh Davis as well. Got to be subscribed to both our channels to enter into that. We'll announce the winner at night 1 of the draft. Okay, Taylor Rapp is a name I'm seeing pop up a bunch here. Obviously, I thought he signed somewhere. Did he not?
I thought he did too.
NFL. Let me just make sure. No, he visited the Bengals 3 days ago.
Oh, that's right. I saw the
Patriots
visit.
ongoing negotiations with safety Taylor Rapp, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. Rapp's an option. Sure. Howie's not surprised by this. Let's get that out there. This is not a scenario where Howie Roseman was about to go to bed like you and I were and got a text from his phone saying, "Hey, CJ's a lion." That did not happen
Right.
at all.
He more than likely anticipated this,
He's
obviously,
known
because he was
this
having lots of conversations on
for
this.
days.
But yeah, no, I Taylor Rapp's an interesting. I thought that he had gotten signed, but I got that confused with just the visit. So yeah, he was Pro
Still
Football
out there.
Focus, good grade, 70 tackles, 2 interceptions, only 35 receptions allowed. He was 10th among safeties last year. That could be a name. I mean, he's 6 feet tall, so he's at least not a super small safety by any means. So yeah, but no, I agree. Back to your point of Howie, he's obviously everything from us is knee-jerk reaction. Oh, they signed this person. Oh, they didn't sign this person. What's the news here? What's he going to do? But he's had a very long time to figure this thing out. And obviously he was able to determine very quickly when CJ wanted to keep perusing the market after the 12 million a year, if that's officially accurate, if we confirm that, but it sounds like it is, there's no reason to think that it's not, then yeah, he said, hey, you know what? We're going to move on. And he probably figured that even though the news is just officially breaking, he's gone. He's already written him off. So at this point, yeah, Howie's, I'm sure, been planning on, let's look at some free agents, maybe look at the draft. Maybe perhaps that was the reason he signed Greedy Williams. I mean, it was kind of a little bit out of the blues. I was like, okay, cool, you got some depth, but it didn't make 100% sense because I was like, well, you still aren't we waiting on CJ? Like, shouldn't we get that done first before we keep going on about some of these other deals? But maybe he thought, hey, we're going to take another shot at a player similar to like a Rashad Penny. I mean, I love it on a prove it deal. You got an injury prone player who has a lot of potential, can play great when they're not injured. So maybe that's the reason he took Greedy. It's like, well, you know what? That's our insurance policy. If CJ doesn't sign it, we probably don't think that he's going to.
And it could have been hey, CJ, like, we just signed somebody else if you're not going to be here, so we're not going to offer you more money, so peace out. It very could have been like a chess move across the board.
Yeah, take it or leave it.
Vapor OUZ says, do we slide Greedy to safety? Obviously, a lot of people are asking that question. Josh just put it out there very well. The issue with Greedy and safety, he hadn't played safety. And there's this whole idea from fans in the NFL that it's easy to move from one to the other, especially if you're a big cornerback, you move to safety. So a couple of guys have done it. It's very rare. People were trying to make Richard Sherman do it towards the end of his career. It was like, oh, Sherman should move to safety because he's big and he's physical, blah, blah. It's very rare to do. So the idea that Greedy can do that, sure, just because they signed him, and Josh just said it, very rare. Like, it's like, or very odd. Like, why are you doing that? But the idea that he would just slide right over and be a serviceable safety is, I think, a little bit far-fetched. But again, I don't know. Someone just said we need more likes. Yeah, hit the like button. We got 340 people watching. And only 65 likes. Yeah, we need more likes. Just hit the like button. I'd appreciate that.
Appreciate that, Johnny Lake.
Where's the cash button? Well, I'm not going to ignore that one, right? Vanny, it's right below. It's right.
They want
below
the entries for the jersey.
Yeah, you want a jersey entry. It's right below. There it is. Well, it's not you, but it's somebody else. We got a lot of comments here. What picks do the Eagles have in the draft? Okay, we'll get the questions. So let's do the draft entry question here. Boom. Shocker. SP. I think he's first time entry into the draft show. Or into the draft jersey. 5 entries here. CJ Johnson to pull on Eric Bieniemy and prove his worth with another team. Pull on Eric Bieniemy, prove it with another team. Easy to production by an historic D-line and best cornerback duo with the shrug emoji. Interesting point there. Interesting point. And again, you're entered in for 5 entries into our jersey giveaway night 1 of the NFL draft. So we got you down for that one. This is interesting. Maybe, but did he really need to? I feel like safety's not one of those where, oh, well, you just had a really good offensive line, so that means you're not that great of a running back. You couldn't do it behind a bad offensive line. I think CJ's a great player, and people want to dog CJ. I'm not going to dog him at all. I think he was a good player. I don't know if he's trying to prove himself. I think in CJ's mind, he's going to have 12 interceptions this year, like his tweet said. That's coming from CJ's mouth. He tweeted that. I'm going to get 12 picks this year if I play all 17 games. And when he does that, he'll make $19 million a year next season versus the 80s making right now. So in his mind, he just gave up 12 to make 8 to future make 19. But he has to perform this year. He has to be better than what he was this year, or he's going to make 8 again next year.
Yep. But if we're doing the math on that, that's $27 million in the first 2 years. And if he got an offer of $12 million a year with Philly, you're telling me $24 million, the $3 million difference is not, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's a terrible decision on his part. I feel like it's a very fair offer, especially what we saw from the safety market. But I think that CJ is very confident, supremely confident. We know that from him. But maybe he is. Maybe he's saying, you know what, fine, I'm going to go prove everyone wrong, prove all my haters wrong. I'm going to go have a fantastic year. I think it's a little dangerous to play the game of, if I was healthy, I would have had 12 interceptions, because I'm not saying that he wasn't phenomenal. He had a great season, but as we've even seen, the interceptions don't always tell the story with defensive. Well, I guess especially with safeties. I mean, you right place, right time. Some of his interceptions, it was definitely a benefit of the D line. So I can understand you say, hey, you want to go to a different team. I'm going to prove it was on me. People don't want to give me the credit. That's fine, but it's a dangerous game to play. If you want to have a 1-year deal, what if all of a sudden next year your value's gone down to $5-6 million a year? That you'd be kicking yourself. And I don't know. We'll see. He felt like that was the right way to go.
Yeah. I think you said it perfectly. Like you and I think do a good job of not ripping people just based on the fact that we're fans first, and we also cover these teams. But if we're being dead honest, it doesn't make sense if we were him, but we're not him. And so instead of being like, oh, what an idiot, I hope he has a terrible time in Detroit, we're like, I wouldn't have done it, but hey, I would have done a lot of things for $8 million.
Yeah, more power to you.
Let's see. Questions here. Lions talk. Eagles have 500 comp picks in 2024. Then losing all these players in free agency. That's a great point. They are going to have a lot. I think they're up to 9 in the first 4 rounds. They have an extra third. They have 3 extra fifths. I was going to do a show on it. It's a lot. I have the tweet saved. 2024 is going to be the most fun draft in Eagle history because Howie's going to go like wing, wing, wing all over the place. We talked about that.
Yep. Should be 3 a third round. And then, what'd you say? Third round, 3
It's 3 5s.
3 5s.
And I know there's a 6th in there as well.
Yep. Which won't count at this point, but
Blankenship was the Eagles' highest ranked safety according to PFF. Blankenship can play. I think Blankenship could be very good. I think he can play.
I do too. He's not, to me, he's not the concern. I think it was just the other spot. Okay, Epps is gone. What are you going to do? So I think he'll be great.
I agree. 5 more entries for Shocker. SP CJ had a wait. I know I already did this one. Sorry, it was a different one. Shocker. Sorry, you already have your 5 entries. We got so many comments. Vanny, hey boys, first, you guys are loved. Great job. We appreciate you, Vanny. Thanks for all the info and hard work, lack of sleep, etc. It is a little bit of lack of sleep. It's less lack of sleep for me because I don't have a kid. Josh has a very young child,
16-month-old.
Yes, so Josh is paying for this in the lack of sleep less so than I am. I do not have a child yet, but Vanny, we appreciate that very much. 5 entries for Vanny.
Appreciate it. Got you
into
down.
The jersey giveaway. There was another one here. Chris gets 3 entries into this jersey giveaway. Jertavius Quan Martin out of Illinois to be a hybrid slot safety with ball hawking skills, 3rd round guy. We forget the 3rd round draft pick. Right now, Eagle fans, including I think both of us, are forgetting the 2nd and 3rd round draft pick. Like we're focused in on 10 and 30 in the 1st round.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. The 2 picks in round 2 and 3 could very well be stars and playmakers. And I know I need to do a lot more research on my 2nd and 3rd round people because we're so focused in on the 1st round. So I'd agree. Chris, I appreciate the 5 you're entered in. As long as you're subscribed to both of us. And we say you're entered in, we're going to check subscribers too. So we check this stuff. So sub to me, sub to Josh. Make sure you guys are there. We expect most of you guys to be sub though.
Yep.
Let me see here. I wanted to say hello. Oh yeah, live. Well, appreciate that. Lion fan here. Top 3 team in the NFC are Philly, Detroit, and San Francisco. Hard to argue with that. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah,
now, Detroit can't do what Detroit did last year and lose a bunch of close games. They're still kind of in the figure out how to win phase. They're not ready to win a Super Bowl, in my opinion, but they're scary. And you can imagine how
they're getting real. Yeah.
Detroit host a playoff games for the first time since they lost to Dallas back when they had Calvin Johnson, I think, was Romo's or Dak's first playoff win. I mean, think how loud Ford Field would be. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, that would be
crazy.
Nuts. Yeah, that division, don't sleep. I mean, it used to be Packers, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers 99.9% out the door, and then who knows what the Vikings are. You got Cousins who really can't rise to the occasion on any sort of game of magnitude. But the Bears with the trade, I shouldn't say trade, the steal that they pulled. I don't know what that was with the Panthers, but the steal that they got, and then you got Detroit now that's already was up and coming, but the moves that they're making in free agency. Yeah, they could definitely be, I'd say for sure, top 4, top 3, maybe even in the NFC. There's a lot of talent there.
Lost in this stream, not once was mentioned Isaac Seumalo leaving. I think that's just because we all expected it. Now it's cheaper than I thought it was going to be. 3 years, $24 million. I talked about it on my show that I posted before this live stream. But Cam Jurgens is going to be fine. I think people are, okay and fine with that. But a little bit surprising that no one went ahead and mentioned that at all. Thomas growing the beard. Do it. No, I got to the stash. You want the stash? Stash is growing on me. Let me see here. Tom Grossi. Let me see here. That's not the Tom Grossi that I think it is it? I don't think that that's the Tom Grossi. Do you know who Tom Grossi is there, Josh? Little YouTube sports education. Let me see here. No, this is not the Tom Grossi. It's a different Tom Grossi, but put Tom Grossi down regardless for 5. Tom Grossi is a Packer fan who has 459,000 subs. I thought that was him.
Okay. I was going to say, yeah, I think I had known him because my wife is a Packers fan. So
what he was doing in here was like, Tom, this is not your stream, buddy. Your stream has 100,000 people watching.
We'd appreciate it, though.
Yeah, we would. Different Tom Grossi. Tom Grossi's entered in. Gotcha. 5 entries. Each dollar is an entry, and you can enter every single live show that we do. We keep track in a Google spreadsheet. Josh and I both have it. So if you enter 500 times, you have the most chances, I guess, to get the jersey. So draft night 1 of the draft.
Or if you just won very large payment, I suppose. It's by dollar amount, but
by dollar amount. Yep. Birds, let's go get Kevin Byard. Again, the issue with Kevin Byard is money. He wants $15 million a year. That's why he doesn't want to. He was mad at the Titans. It's a lot of money.
If you take a discount, hey, he's born in Philly, so if he wants to come home and get a super big discount, that's great. I'm all for it. The player himself, the talent, the leader that he is, he's super physical. Sign me up. But it's just not going to work out money wise. I don't see how it will.
This comment says, where is it? No way. CJ over Bradbury is stupid. They didn't do CJ over Bradbury. The reports that are coming out say they offered CJ a 3-year, $12 million a year deal day 1. Monday, they said, CJ here. CJ said no. He was their number 1 priority. Very clearly he was. CJ didn't want it.
Yeah. Which is just to because I know you meant 12 a year, but just for anyone listening to make sure, that was 3 years, $36 million.
Yes.
That's $12 million a year. So they offered him a great package, especially for the safety market, and he just didn't want it. He wanted more.
I totally agree.
You did mention, I was going to go back to the draft. I know that we've gotten some comments here about potentials in the 2nd or 3rd round. I've been looking, and I'm still kind of going through Pro Football Focus and some different mock drafts and everything else. But one name that seems to be available, again, this is just a mock draft, so who knows what's actually going to happen on the actual day. And we're going to have the live show first 2 days of the draft. So be sure to join that. Also to check in, see if you won the jersey. But Sidney Brown, he's one from Illinois that keeps popping up. So I've done a little bit of looking at him in research. Seems like he's a very athletic safety, very versatile, 6 feet tall. He's got a lot of skills. He's a senior, so I don't think that there's a lack of maturity or anything that there's nothing that really I could find. It's maybe a little bit of a weakness in tackling, but they don't go into a whole lot of details of a lot of specifics there. But so far, I'm just thinking or kind of mentioning names because obviously, like a Brian Branch or someone who's the top of the class, I would love, but I just don't think you're going to see that. But you mentioned we got those comments of the 2nd or 3rd round picks. In the mock draft so far, he's one that keeps coming up as available whenever I'm running these. I've just on my own, I'll pull up my phone and probably do a mock draft here or there just about every single day. So from what I've seen, he keeps being available. I just, for what that's worth, he may be a name to keep an eye on.